also to cater for students that for some reason might not be able to afford, quality university education. I want to start by appreciating you for the laudable gesture to put this in place. One of the things that the foundation is involved in is actually some of the things that citizens of the country should be doing. And we're quickly going to go through, citizenship, what it is, and its role in nation building. And we're going through this outline through an introduction, definition of citizenship, types of citizenships, the rights and duties and obligations of citizens, the benefits, responsibility of government to its citizens, definition of nation building, characteristics of a good citizen, and the role of students in nation building. So how do we define citizenship? We can define it as a relation between an individual and a state or a nation, which the individual owes an allegiance and is entitled to its protection. So there's a relationship between both the citizen and the nation to which the citizen belongs to. Each state or nation determines the condition under which it will recognize persons as its own citizens, and the conditions under which that status will be withdrawn. So it's a relationship. You can be given citizen and can also be withdrawn depending on the conditions. If you fall foul of the law, that status can be taken from you. Recognizing you as a citizen of a state carries with it some rights. Civil rights, political rights, and social rights. Actually, these are not afforded to people that are not citizens of that nation. For example, next year we're having elections. There are people that are living in Nigeria, but they will not be allowed to vote because they are not citizens of the nation. Also, if they don't, we have currently national health insurance programs, and this is only for citizens that are contributing to it. So if somebody that's not a citizen falls ill, might not be able to benefit from that, and that person will need to obtain his own kind of health insurance to be able to benefit. So there are various types of citizenship, just a bit, nothing much. It can be by family, and people that have lived here for a very long time. The fathers and grandfathers have lived here, automatically the descendants become citizens of that nation by birth. If you're born in a particular place, automatically you can become a citizen of that nation. But it's not all countries that have this relationship. For a lot of countries, particularly in the Commonwealth countries, it was automatic in those days, but for some time now, it's changed that you cannot be a citizen by birth again, although some other countries still practice it. You can also be a citizen by marriage, and this is one thing that we find a lot of young people get involved in, particularly when they want to get citizenship of countries. They can be involved in marriages that are not proper, that what we call sham marriages, and this can result in problems for them. It can even result in them losing whatever citizenship or rights they've had if it's found that they've been involved in something that is not legal. Then by naturalization, a few weeks ago, our President Muhammadu Buhari, recognized some people that have contributed to the growth of this country and give them citizenship by naturalization. And of course, you can have citizenship by investment or what we call economic citizenships. This is something that is beginning to become very common. You find it particularly in countries that are looking for ways of being able to improve their economy. They look for people from all over the world to bring in the money to that country, and they give them citizenship. This has its benefits and also has its the bad sides of it, because sometimes people are bringing money that is not clean money to collect the citizens of your country. And I'm not sure if all of us will want dubious people that are the sources of wealth are questioned to be given, to be accorded the same standards that are accorded to the citizens of our nation. There's what is called dual citizenship, which means that you can be a citizen of 2 countries or more, and you find about 49 countries of the world allow the dual citizenship, and Nigeria is one of them. As a dual citizen, you're expected to comply with the laws of both countries. However, if there's a conflict between those countries, you will need to drop one and choose allegiance to one of those 2 or more countries that you are carrying the citizenship of. What are the rights of a citizen? The citizen has some rights, according to it by the fact that it's a citizen of that country. And that includes the right to a passport of the country. And here we can see the Nigerian passport, the DIM passport being displayed. So as a Nigerian, we're all entitled to carry that passport. And anywhere we go, we'll be accorded the rights and respect that is due to a citizen of our country, Nigeria. We also have the right to live and return to the country to which we belong to. So a Nigerian can travel out of the country with a Nigerian passport, and he can come back at any time. You cannot be stopped from entering your country. And you also have the right to live in and to work in the country. So as a Nigerian, you carry a green passport, you can work anywhere, you can live anywhere in the country, and you can live anywhere in the country. As a citizen, we have some duties to perform. And most importantly, it includes obeying the laws of the land. Each country has its own laws, which you must obey. You must obey the laws of the land. The laws can vary, in Nigeria from state to state. So you have to know what the laws of your state are. Like they say, ignorance is no excuse. So you need to obey the laws of whichever state that you are living in. You have the right to protect public property. Sometimes we find that some things that happen is not because the government is inefficient or hasn't know what it's supposed to do, but you find people that are destroying or damaging public property. And something that comes to mind is when you're going on the bridges in Lagos, you find that the railings that are supposed to protect people from falling into the waters are being removed by people for various reasons. Either, most of the time for economic reasons, which means that they, apart from destroying public property, they're also exposing the citizens of the state to unnecessary and payment of taxes. This is another duty of a citizen. Because our taxes are what the government uses to put infrastructure in place for us. The good hospitals that we desire, the good roads that we desire, welfare packages for disabled people, the elderly, for children. These are some of the things that our taxes go into. And we have an obligation as citizens to pay our taxes appropriately and as of going to. We are not supposed to cheat the system. We know that a lot of cheating of the system is going on, in which we can falsify records and do whatever we want to. Also, it's our duty to render national service. National service that is rendered varies from countries to countries. In Nigeria, the national service we have is a mandatory 1-year youth service corps, which all graduates of institutions in Nigeria are supposed to participate in. The national service has its the good points about it. You get to see lots of Nigeria, to travel around, to see, to meet people, and it helps us to become better integrated into the system. So we see ourselves more, when we've lived with somebody in their own home, in their state, you can see them more as a brother than rather as an engineer of something else. So it's easy for us to kind of blend our cultures. And then loyalty. We expect to be loyal to our country. We expect to stay good, being loyal doesn't mean that we must see what is not good and keep quiet. Being loyal also includes seeing the things that are not good and talking about them and seeing ways of correcting the things that are not good. Reality means that you want all that is good for your country, right? And you don't speak bad about your country. We've gotten to a state that quite a few of us don't see anything good in the country, and that's the reason why everybody wants to leave the country to places where other people have worked and made a good society. So we all have our own part to play in making sure that the Nigeria of our dreams is what we get. And it's also important that you must have respect for the rights of other people. Nigeria, it's it's a country with diverse people of diverse religion, diverse people, cultures, and all of this. So we must respect their rights. They respect the rights to do some things that are peculiar to them, even though we have our national laws. Once those things are within the national laws, we must respect the right of others. So we must not make living uncomfortable for them, either by the nuisances we create in our areas. For example, the noises that are being made by people that are trying to draw attention to their businesses, or some religious houses that will stay with residential areas and are making noise, or even obstructing traffic. This shows a lack of respect for other people. And the stations of citizens, can be summarized into these three groups: civil responsibility, which I've talked about, respect for national symbols. Respect that we have national symbols, which are these things that identify us as being Nigerians, and there's many of them. It includes our flag, our coat of arms, the pledge, which we recite, national anthem. Even our president is a national symbol. And, then we need to respect the way we talk and refer to him. So we must show respect for our symbols, because they say if you don't respect what is yours, very difficult for other people to respect, what belongs to you. So we must show respect for those symbols. And then we must report, it's our duty to report criminal activities. We see things that are not okay, things that are wrong, people committing crime, and we keep quiet. It's not good enough. We need to report those things that we see that are not right in our locality. The government is there, but the government cannot, and they have their officers, representing them at both the state, local government, and ward levels, but they cannot see everything. It's our duty to report what we see that's criminal in our environment. For example, use of drugs are very rampant. We find an area where drugs are being used and sold. We need to report those things. We find, and we see things that people are being abused for whatever reason, either sexual abuse or physical abuse or even mental abuse. These are criminal things. We need to report those activities to the appropriate authorities. Each time we keep silent, it means that we are more or less consenting to those crimes being perpetrated. The benefits of being a citizen of a nation, and that includes freedom of speech and association. So you have the right to associate with anybody you want. You have the right to speak within limits. There's freedom of speech, yes, but there should be respect of the rights of others, and we have to be careful of the things that we say. When we as citizens perform our obligations to the government is going to perform its own responsibilities to us. And we're going to be talking about some of this later. Also, we can be able to have peaceful coexistence. We can live in a country that is peaceful, that is secure. So what are the responsibilities of the government towards us, a citizen? The government is responsible for maintenance of law and order. And this is very critical to us having a peaceful and secure environment. Because when there's no law and there's no order, there can be no peace. There can be no peace. So what you have is many people doing what they think is right, and some of these things might not be right for the citizens. I'll just give an example of something that I see every day, and it's a little bit worrisome. You find that in public transport, they tend to stay at the junctions of roads, and they don't really care which road that they're obstructing. And sometimes you find that they're obstructing, routes to very important places. For example, a place like a hospital. An ambulance is carrying somebody into the hospital and cannot move freely because he's been obstructed. These are some of the things that government is expected to do to maintain law and order. They also provide security for us to make sure that we're safe, and we have the security can be both internal to protect us against internal aggression, and also to protect us against external aggression from people coming from other countries in to come and perpetrate crime within the country. We expect the government to provide social welfare services. It's not everybody that will have the ability to be able to take care of themselves. You have people that are disabled, you have people that are very elderly, and people that are very young, pregnant women, people that, all these people, you have to provide social welfare services for them, because they lack the ability to be able to provide for themselves everything. You also need to protect human rights of everybody, so that everybody can have a voice in the country. I've talked about protection from external attack. Economic stability is also one of the responsibilities of the government. They need to keep the economy stable so that people can be able to at least live a minimum, have a minimum standard of living, and provide food, shelter, clothing, and access to good health care for them. And all of this will only happen if there's economic stability in the country. And also, through some of these things that the government is doing, or is government supposed to do, we can have income redistribution. When when taxes are paid, you find that you pay according to what you earn. You find that people that earn a lot more are paying more than those that don't earn, or they're supposed to pay more. So whatever taxes are collected are used to take care of all of these needs that cannot be met by those that don't have the ability. So these are some of the responsibilities of government towards its citizens. And we can, help government, provide for us by us doing our own duties towards the government. Now, we're talking about nation building. How would we define nation building? Nation building can be defined as a process whereby a society or group of people with diverse origins, history, languages, cultures, and religion, like we have in Nigeria, comes together within the boundaries of a sovereign state called Nigeria, with a unified constitutional and legal dispensation, a national public education system, and an integrated national economy with shared symbols. I've talked about some of these in dividing citizens of citizenship. In Nigeria, we know that we're a society where we have diverse people. We have three main groups, but we have a lot of smaller groups that are within the boundaries of the country called Nigeria. Our histories are quite different, our languages are different, our cultures and our religion, they're different. But we are unified by a constitution. And, the Nigerian economy and the symbols of our national unity, which I have referred to earlier on, to come together to form the country, Nigeria. We can also look at nation building from the angle of creating a country out of a non-functioning one. And the country is not functioning either because the old one has been destroyed by war, it has fallen apart, or it has never really worked properly. And I can say that we are going to need a lot of nation building in our country, Nigeria, currently, because although we haven't fallen apart, but we're not being held together like we should be held together, or that we have been held together in the past. We're not at war, yet we're not at peace. So nation building is not something that you do once and you go. It's a gradual process that you continue doing and improving on until you get the nation of your dreams and of your desires. Why is it important that we build nations? We build nations so that we can have a national identity using the power of the state. The state of Nigeria caters for our needs in the international community, and we all identify as Nigerians with the international community. So using this, we are all stronger together, and we're able to get more respect from the international community. Building a nation will unify us to create a politically stable and viable state. You can imagine if we are in small fragments, we will, it will not be as strongly united as the way we can be if we all come together under a nation. When we try to build our nation, Nigeria, we create a peaceful society, for all of us to live in and to thrive and to, grow in. However, for us to have, or for us to build a nation, some basic things must be taken care of. And some of these basic things will include the provision of food, provision of shelter, provision of good healthcare, good roads, good transportation in a secure environment. If all these are not there, it will be very difficult for us to build a nation. The saying that an hungry man is an angry man. So someone that's, hasn't fed well, it will be very difficult for him to talk about politics and economy of a nation. And that's why we find that each time we're trying to go into election, it's easy for politicians to buy votes by giving them what they know that they need. But that giving us that thing is only for that period. And once we've taken it from them, they go back to not providing good governance for us. And in another 4 years, they will come back again and give us those same things, usually things that will not last. They give us food, some bowls of rice, they give us bread, indomie, sometimes they give us material, or they give us some money. But these things are things that will not carry us throughout the next election cycle. And because we've collected those things, we don't have a moral right to demand they give us good governance. So what are the impacts of nation building? Nation building allows for us to use available resources efficiently. It allows us to use available resources efficiently. So we're able to allocate resources to what, to areas of need. For example, we know that some areas of need in our country are education and healthcare, they're areas of need. And when the right amount of our resources allocated to this, our the children, the citizens get good education, and with education comes, loyalty, patriotism, and other things. With bad education, we tend to have a lot of vices and crimes being committed. And with illiteracy, it's very easy for the rights of the citizens to be trampled on. Also, with good health, we are all able to work better and we're more productive. Nation building also stimulates competition. You have the various states, competing amongst themselves to provide all of these things. And we could see, this in the old Western region, where all the states were clamoring to give the best for its citizens. And we saw how the city and the various states improved and progressed. It also supports innovation and promotes the growth of the economy. When there's competition amongst the various states, all of us are striving to be the best that we can be. We want to compete. But in a situation where all of us are just being given, money from a central place, we all know money is coming at the end of every month. There is this, the challenge to innovate and to promote, local economy is not there. So with good nation building, all of these things will accrue to the country. So the question now is, how can we as citizens contribute to nation building? And I'll put it in one straight sentence: by being a good citizen. So what are the characteristics of a good citizen? One, as good citizens, we must be very, very honest. We must be very honest in our dealings with ourselves, with our neighbors, and with the government. Now, let's look at some of the things that we do that are dishonest. Many times we try and cheat a system. The laws are there. For example, we know that most universities will not take students that are not yet 16 years old. That's our law. But for whatever reasons, we all believe that we want to go to school early and finish early. And because we know that we will not be accepting those universities, we'll go and swear an affidavit and change our ages so that we can get in. That is being dishonest. And you realize that changing that age also comes with its challenges. Sometimes you find that the children are immature and they cannot cope with the university system and they end up falling out of it. We also, because of the emphasis, the value we play on education, and because we have this belief in ourselves that you cannot get into a school except you cheat, you find that all means are done to cheat the system by getting people to write exams for us, by looking for question papers to buy. Recently, I've come across some students that they won't deny themselves of eating properly so that they can save their money to be able to buy question papers so that they can be able to pass the exams. Obviously, some of these things will show later on in life. And that's why you find people in schools that have 6, 7 A's, are able to cope and they get withdrawn out of the system. Honesty, in paying the taxes that are due. Honesty in making sure that whatever needs to be done, whether someone is looking at us or not, we're doing it. Honesty, sometimes we claim to be what we are not. For example, we can claim to be professionals that we're not. We see history of fake lawyers, fake doctors, fake nurses, and all of these things are detrimental to the society. about a year or two ago, there was a case I came across in which somebody was being treated by somebody that's not medically qualified at all in any aspect. He's not a nurse, he's not a doctor, and the person was given injections and the man collapsed and died. That is just one of the very few cases that there. I'm sure there's so many other cases that might not have been reported. So we have to be honest enough to be able to claim to be who we are and who we are not. Compassion. We must have compassion for those that are less privileged than us. Compassion for the disabled, compassion for the motherless, compassion for widows, compassion even for those that are going through tough times like we're having currently now. When especially in a country where things are so tough and people are finding it difficult to even survive, to eat. So we must show compassion to those people in whatever way that we can. There must be respect also for them. Respect for our neighbors, for our families. Some of these things have to start from within our families. One thing that I've noticed a lot about our youth is that they tend, sometimes they want to play, football, want to play basketball on the streets. And doing some of these things is showing your lack of respect for your neighbors, because a street is not where you should be playing football. And I can sometimes relate to them in the sense that the playgrounds, the fields that were available to them have been converted to other, uses. So I can relate to them. But then they have to think of, respecting their neighbors. Some of them have gone to work at various times of the day. Some work morning, some work afternoon or night. And then you are playing and making noise loudly. That is some form of comfort to your neighbors. We must be responsible to ourselves, to our country, and to our society and our neighbors. And responsibility means in doing what we're supposed to do at the right time and with alacrity. And then also at our places of work, we must work efficiently and effectively. And this attitude of, it's not my father's job, so I can just do minimal work and forget about it, is not good. We must be proud of who we are. We must be proud, first of all, of our families, of our society, and of our nation, Nigeria. And sometimes I see what people are doing, and it gladdens my heart when you see Nigerians representing us as Nigerians in various endeavors and doing extremely well. It makes us proud. But sometimes, some of us will do things that are not very desirable, and this brings shame to us. But despite all of this, we must always remember that the people that are committing these crimes are fewer than the rest of us that are striving to make Nigeria good. And we should always take pride in who we are, our culture, our language, and the society that we're trying to build for ourselves. And one thing that is really, very important is we must love God. Because if we don't love God, it might be very difficult for us to love our neighbor. If we don't love God, it might be difficult for us to love our neighbor. It's a lack of fear and a lack of love of God that will make us to want to keep for ourselves the things that should be used for common good. A budget has been made for something, for a local government. And we decide that out of that budget, 90% will be kept for our own personal use, and only 90% will be used to do what's supposed to do. So we end up with so many substandard jobs all over the place. And we need to remind ourselves that sometimes these things that we do can actually come back and backfire on us. You have walls falling down. We don't know who's going to be next to the wall that's going to fall down and is going to kill. We have petrol tankers turning over. We don't know who's going to be in the next car to it. So when we do things that cheat the system, it shows actually, no matter whatever we say we are, it shows a lack of love for God, because it's a lack of love for God that will make you to do things that will be dangerous to your fellow human beings. I'd like to, round up by talking of the role of students in nation building. You wonder whether students have a role to play in nation building. Yes, they are very vital, because we say that the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. And it's important that they start thinking of what can they do to build the nation Nigeria for us to have the nation of our dreams. The first thing they need to do is to get a good education. We know that education can take us out of poverty. Education will take us out of poverty. Education will help us to appreciate things. It will give us, a mind that can think, that can ask questions, that can innovate. And all of this will go on to have a better nation for our country. So it's important that not we just have certificates, but we must have very good education. So whatever we're doing, we have to do it well to the best of our ability, so we're able to give back to the society. We must keep healthy minds and be disciplined. Now, a big challenge that we're having now is the use of drugs. And with drugs, you have a lot of mental issues coming with them. So we have to be disciplined enough to avoid the use of drugs and to avoid as much as we can the use of drugs, alcohol, and other stimulants. We must be disciplined enough to be able to want to get that good education that can lift us, lift our families, and lift out of societies, out of a disordered nation. We must also try and contribute to society through good deeds and moral conduct. At this point again, I want to appreciate FAJIM and the initiator, the founder, and the members of the board, and all the associates that have been contributing money towards this foundation. This is one way of giving back to, to society. And I'm sure these are things that must have been learned from when, the founder was a lot much younger. You realize that sometimes you don't always have to give money. You can contribute and improve society through the good deeds that you do, the medical missions that you organize, the scholarships that you give to people that are less privileged. And sometimes, it's not too early for students to know about volunteering. And I'm glad to say that one of the things that's required of the students and FAJIM scholars is that they must volunteer in Medical Nation. You can volunteer, even without FAJIM saying that you must volunteer, you can volunteer in your community. You can volunteer to help the elderly people in your community by washing their clothes, by doing shopping for them. You can volunteer to teach students that are not as good as you are, some of these subjects. You can volunteer by mentoring those that are, in your community. So you can contribute to the society through some of these activities. Now, we know that education is really very important. They also say, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So we need to be involved in extracurricular activities. Extracurricular activities broaden our minds. They make us, apart from relaxing our bodies, they relax our minds, they broaden the way of thinking and the way we relate, with the society. Extracurricular activities could be sports, could be games, or could be just tools that help to improve ourselves. I've talked about volunteering. It's very important. I know nowadays what we're looking at is people, when we're all growing up, we've volunteered to wash our parents' car, we volunteered to do things. But now you find that youths expect that they should be paid for those things. No. And actually volunteering is very good, because when you put in your CV, when you're looking for a job, it's that kind of the things that an employer is looking for. Somebody that can volunteer his services and activities to others. Elections is very important, that we participate in elections by voting and being voted for. You will ask that, are we too young? No, we're not too young. It's important that the kind of political system you want in your country, you must be involved in it, starting from your ward, going to your local government, and your state. So we must be involved in it. We must make sure that we all, when it's time to vote, we vote for those that we want to lead us. And we must avoid dirty politics. We have a situation where the young people are being used by the politicians to carry out their activities. We must not allow ourselves to be used by politicians. We must live a pure life, and we must be ready to serve our nation at any time. We can be called up to serve our nation at any time, either as ministers or on the boards of some government things. And when we go to serve, we must not go there to serve ourselves, but to serve our community and to build our nation. I would like to conclude by these two quotes I came up. Show me the areas that the youths of our country look up to, and I will tell you the future of your country. So who are you as youths looking up to? Who are you looking up to? Is it the crooked politician, right? Is it the area boys that seems to be swimming in money? Or is it drug peddler? We have a lot of people to look up to in the soil, role models, and many of them. They might not have money, but they have contributed a lot to the growth of our society and nation building. And one of the models we're looking at is people that out of whatever they have, are they still giving to the benefit of the society. And I can confidently tell you that one of those you're looking at as a role model is the founder of FAJIM Medicare Foundation, Professor Adekunbiola. Also, your pride for your country should not come after your country becomes great. Your country becomes great because of your pride in it. These two quotes I got from somebody called Idumu Uyeniko, and I thought they just apt. We are looking at countries that have done so well for themselves with pride. But when we start seeing our country with pride, our country becomes great because all of us have contributed to building a nation where there's peace, where there's justice, where there are good roads, good healthcare services, a nation that we are proud to call our own. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof. This is excellent. Thank you. Thank you. What else can we say? She has said it all. And my summary, who am I to start summarizing the talk of my professor and my teacher, my mentor too? Well, I can just try to break it down, especially for those of you who joined us late. And essentially, these are not the things that are taught in school, and you know it. She went through what citizenship is, nation building, and the rights of the citizen, the right of government, and then went to look at essential responsibilities. What are those responsibilities of a citizen? Because you cannot be talking about your rights all the time. We keep telling government that government is not doing this, government is not doing that. But we also, as citizens, have our responsibility, and we've got to be good citizens, So and I want to emphasize on those attributes again. What are the attributes of good citizens? And we should all try to imbibe the attributes. She talked about honesty, compassion, compassion for your fellow human beings, starting from your family, starting, to your school, your neighbor, and anybody that you come about. Respect, responsibility, pride, being proud of who you are. Do not, do not fake or pretend to be who you are not. Who you are, where you are from. We should not pretend to, we should be proud that we're Nigerians. And even if our country is not what we think it should be, then it is our responsibility to make it better. So respect and being proud of the fact that we're Nigerians is very important. She also spent some time on talking about the love of God. If you love God, you will do exactly what will please God. And anything that you do that will please God will automatically be pleasing to yourself, your neighbors, and everybody around you. Whoever does things that pleases God will also be a good citizen. And she coned it down because we're talking to students that some of you might have been looking at the topic, say, now ASU has just call off strike, and you are telling us to come and be talking about citizenship. What concerns us with citizenship? Whatever will happen to Nigeria should happen to Nigeria. You're not bothered. You shouldn't be thinking that way, because you also have roles to play. And those roles have been clearly stated. And I want all of us to, try to see what we can do to do our own bits. And for emphasis, let me go through those roles again. That you've got to have good education so that you're in school. It is also a way of, your own way of nation building. If we have everyone that is educated today, then we will be better off. A nation with majority being educated is a better nation than one whose majority are illiterate. Education, healthy minds and discipline, contributing to society through your good deeds and moral conduct. Very important. Involvement in extracurricular activities. So, and that's why we're taking you through this. It is not just about book, because we realize that medical students, all you do is read books, from one prose to one in course to another one, and you don't even relate to other students. You don't relate to your community. Some of you don't even do extracurricular. Some of you don't play ball. You don't, have. So it's important that you get yourself involved in extracurricular activities. Volunteering. You remember the last topic was even about volunteering. And I know that some of you have started doing that, but you can do more. And participating in election. Don't say you're busy preparing for exam. Get your voter's card, and when it is time, I'm sure majority of you are over 18. Then it is time you should vote. It's important. It's your responsibility in making our nation great, avoiding dirty politics. I know all the people that we talk about that bad politicians today, they started from school. And you know, a lot of politics take place in school. I know some of you are student representatives and so on and so forth. You play student union politics, so you should do it well. Live a pure life and be ready to serve your nation. And she concluded with these two quotes: show me the heroes that the youth of your country look up to. Is it the Naira Marley? What do you call them? The ones that, yes, there are lots of, you know, musicians that are even great people. You know, it's not everyone that is a musician or these that are not good people, but you should know who your heroes are. Who do you look up to? You know, because that determines even your own future as well. And your pride for your country should not come after your country becomes great. You should also be part of the people that will make your country great. Okay, so we thank Prof again, our mother, our teacher, our mentor. Thank you very much. You are so much appreciated by this brilliant lecture that you've given to our scholars today. So now it's time for questions and answers. So Prof will be able to answer some of your questions. Let me see if anyone, if you want to speak, or if you like, you can put your question on the chat box. Read it to her and then she'll try to answer as much as we can entertain. We've spent 1 hour already. This session is supposed to be for about 1.5 hours. So we still have about 20 minutes if you have questions for her. Thank you again, Prof. Okay, there are quite some comments here. Today, Abubakar is saying he's looking up to people that hold the development of the community at heart, people that are after the development of the community's human resources, and people that are ready to contribute in any of their capacity to development. And he says, thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. Ola Ojo says, thank you very much. It was indeed insightful, an insightful lecture. Timileyin says, thank you so much, Ma, for renewing our minds and making us more aware as citizens of Nigeria. It was indeed an impactful lecture. Amazing lecture. Adekunbiola Zainab says, thank you so much for taking time out to deliver this presentation, being part of our mentorship. Thank you, Kusai. So, yes, a question here. Timileyin Okunola says, okay, the first one, he says, Tude Abubakar, Ma, it is quite awkward how deep the bad politicking has eaten into our system. Okay, so you want her to comment on that, or it's just a statement? Let's look at this one from Timileyin. My question is, in the course of fulfilling your obligation to your country and your life is at risk, how do we manage such situations? Say you want to contest for an election and thugs in the community threaten such person. What can one do? Prof?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Um, it's a very tough one. And I'm sure most mothers will not want their children to be involved in politics, because we know that a lot of risk are shared with it. But then if we keep on saying that there's risk, and we don't get involved, then we continue getting the kind of government that we have now. The way I will handle this is, if you know that you want to get involved in politics, you have to, first of all, be able to win the confidence of those that you're going to be dealing with. The system is there. We cannot get rid of it immediately, but you can start by winning the confidence of those that, you're going to be involved in politics. You can start from your ward, establish a good base there. By the time you're there yourself, you're bringing people of like minds into you. And then from then, you can move up to the local government. From there, you can move up to the state. So to do that, you need to start at your ward level, get the confidence of those that are in politics, and then move on from there. As long as we say we're afraid of risk, then things will never change. But with a pure heart, you're going with a pure heart, God will not, allow you to fail. That's what I can say. I have no correct answer, but I believe we all still need to be involved in it. But start off, win the confidence, and then move up.
Okay, ma. Thank you very much, ma. Another question says, is it part of nation building to do what is expected from government?
Yes, it's part of nation building to do what is expected from government. No, sorry, what was the question again?
Maybe he meant, is it part of nation building to do, is it what is expected from government, or for government to do what is expected of it?
Okay. Okay. So, is it okay like we currently do now? For example, we expect government to give us security in the area, but we're the ones responsible for our own security. Is that kind of question you're asking? We're doing what government should do. I can say it's not part of it and also a part of it, in the sense that where there are lapses, we need to fill in and correct those lapses. And then we need to bring it to the attention of those that are responsible. I think one thing that we all do is, because we have the ability to take care of things, we take care of it, and we don't call the attention of those that are responsible. So we need to be more involved. Call the attention of your ward. How many of us, I'm going to ask a question, you can just show your hands. How many of us in this meeting know who is our ward representative? You can do a show of hands, please. How many of us know who our ward representative is?
One person.
So just one person. So we have to start by even knowing who to report to. How do you want to report what's wrong if you don't know who to report to? So that's part of our duties as well as citizens, to be able to bring to the attention of government where there are lapses. And I know that in Lagos State, there's this phone that you can, number that you can send a message to when you notice things around. I don't know how well it works, but there's something there. So we can also make government do what it's supposed to do by bringing the attention to those things they should do.
Okay. There's another question here. Sorry. There's another question. Who is that, please? Please. Mute yourself. Who is that? Okay, so this Rakib Ismail says, I think criticizing the government is important in calling the attention of government to do what's expected of it. And I notice what most Nigerian youths do is destructive criticism. How can we make our criticism of government more constructive so that we can achieve our goal of criticizing? That's a good one.
Yeah. So I think to achieve that, we first of all need to know exactly who we need to talk to. And most of us are not involved in the process. For example, only one person knows who is the ward representative for the local government. So if we don't know how to go about doing things, we won't be able to get the right response from it. So that means that we must be involved in our local government. The apathy must stop.
Yeah.
We must identify who to send our complaints to. And luckily now we have many means of doing it. Sometimes you can use social media to achieve what you want. But like you said, it must not be destructive, it must be constructive criticism. So there are many avenues that are open to us to do that now. The important thing is for us to be able to do it at the right time. And we should not be afraid. One thing I've noticed most of us that we're all afraid of being seen, in bad light by people.
Yeah.
We must not be afraid.
Okay, thank you, ma. Olaojo Jamil says, ma, in a system where majority of us have lost faith in the government and political apathy is en masse among the citizens, people do not even believe their votes count anymore. Could you suggest ways we can encourage people to participate more in the electoral processes?
Yes, thank you. I know there's a lot of apathy, but we have to kind of have faith. This current INEC, if what they've been telling us is true, we want to believe them, but our votes will count this time around. Because of the, electronic mode of voting that they're deploying. So we have to give them the benefit of doubt and, believe that our votes will count. Yeah. And we all have to be involved in the electoral process. First of all, starting by getting our voters' card and making sure on that day we go out to vote. One thing that I've seen us as Nigerians we don't do is we don't really ask, the people that are vying to represent us, the presidential candidates, people in local government are for the local government, we cannot do much about it because really there's no election. What they have in most local governments is selection. But for the states, the governors and the presidential candidates, we actually need to sit down and ask them questions. They said they're going to do things. They're going to create 774,000 jobs for youths. We just took it like that. We didn't ask them, how are they going to do it? You understand me? So we too, we must stop being lazy. We must look at the manifesto critically and then ask them the right questions. And then from the answers they're giving us, if they are not doing it, we'll know that yes, they cannot. They're not likely to perform and we should not vote for them. We had, with the previous manifesto that we've had so far, they've given us things that they've promised us things that if we actually had sat down and critically analyze those things, we'll know that it's impossible to do. A promise like the Naira will come with $1. We should have known. We should have known it's not possible. So we too have our own part to play, by not just taking line, hook, and stinker, anything that they tell us, we must ask questions, and then they must defend those things. So that's what we are not doing. And then we must look at where they're coming from. Somebody said, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that, you know, my previous appointments. Are these things true?
To
Are these
verify.
things true? So we must verify information. So we have a lot of work. We're not used to doing this work, but we have a lot of work to do. And I'm happy that a lot of us now are opening our minds and we're asking questions. We might not get it completely right this time around, but it's the beginning of, you know, better things for us because we're now all asking questions. And I just want to tell, you know, what I believe in. I believe a lot in Nigeria. I believe in a lot that, you know, people that are coming behind us, they're a lot smarter than we are. I believe that the good things are going to come from you, the youths of Nigeria. So you also have to believe in yourself, that you have what it takes to build a nation, you know, where you can strive, where you can live in peace, where you can achieve, where you can home, where you can get international recognition. You yourself have to have that pride and you have to believe in yourself. No one else can do that for you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Let me see another message, another chat. Okay, somebody says, Zainab, I know, okay, good afternoon. I don't believe we can solely blame our leaders for the corruption and state that this country is today. Yes, they are in power, but interacting with the average Nigerian, I've observed that most of us have this innate corruption. We've normalized so many negative things that are driving this country to the ground. My question is, how do we as Nigerians get rid of this way of living? We were raised and bred in, because now it feels like a survival mechanism. Thank you for that.
Yes. So there's one Yoruba adage that I just got to know about. And it says, "Be me, moturami be." Can you be translated, please?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have a rebirth. Even if you were born into, you know, something bad, you should, you know, what do they call it now? Born again, so to say. You know, you should be born again. Have a rebirth and emancipate yourself, so to say. Emancipate yourself from the ills that surround you.
Yes.
As long as you recognize that, you know, all those things are not the right thing. So don't be discouraged. Even if you're the only one that is left doing the right thing, continue to do the right thing. Do not follow the bandwagon.
Thank you.
Okay. Somebody also says, I have an observation. In Nigeria, we often over-fixate on the presidential elections. But I do believe we are affected more by government closest to us. That is the local government, the lawmakers. I really do hope these forthcoming elections will change and will fixate more on governments that affect us more, instead of voting one corrupt Omo Agbolewani into the lawmaking chambers and expecting to see changes. Okay, doing parapo. That's like doing parapo. That's because this person is from my town, or is from my tribe, or is from my belong to the same religious group that I belong. You vote for them whether they have the capacity or not. So that's what this scholar is telling us, that we shouldn't.
Yes.
All right.
So, I just want to, it's just a pity that, you know, the ward and local governments are the closest to us, but consistently in Lagos State, I don't think, you know, they really had proper elections to, you know, so we need to get, you to be involved in that and get the government to let us have proper elections. And if we don't know who they are, we cannot be involved in it. I'm sure most of us don't know who are chairmen, who they are, who are the various councillors, we don't know them. So we also need to be involved and informed.
Yes, so we should be involved and we should be informed. We should seek information and we should also be involved in whatever way that we can in our community. Thank you very much. Okay, so if there is no more, let me just acknowledge the presence of some guests here. We had some guests earlier on that had to leave, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Funsho Abimpe Adekunbiola. I also saw Funsho Banjo all the way from Canada. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. And she's been with us.
Thank you for having me, ma. It was such
Thank you.
an enlightening session. Thank you, ma.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And then the chairman of FAJIM Medicare Foundation was with us earlier on. I think he's no longer here. Alhaji Jami Abdulkarim, thank you very much. We're grateful. I can see Biodun Karim also here. I can see Dotun Lawal. These are some of our guests. They are not scholars. So thank you. You are all welcome. So if there is no other question, may I ask one of the scholars to move the vote of thanks for our mother today and our guest lecturer. Any volunteer, just anyone, whoever comes up first should move the vote of thanks. Or you want me to call someone? Who is there? Anyone? Favor? Okay.
Good evening.
Okay. Who is that? Oh, Tumishe, go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am.
Can you show your video? Are you where you can show your video? If you are not, you can go on. No, you can go on.
Okay, ma'am. We really appreciate our mother for the talk and the lecture. It's actually important for our own generation as these unpatriotic movement of going abroad is now very rampant. So really appreciate it, and we hope that this lecture will have a great impact in our life and make us better citizens. I really appreciate our mother too, Professor Abdulkarim, for organizing the program, for making us, for engaging us in activities that can make us better citizens of the country. So really appreciate you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. So once again, I want to, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of and members of the executive of the FAJIM Medicare Foundation, to thank you, Prof, once again. We can take ourselves for granted and say, after all, you are one of the BOT and you even hold the pulse of the foundation. We shouldn't thank you, but we shouldn't take ourselves for granted. Supposing when we say, because it was someone else that was supposed to take this slot, and when we weren't getting the response on time, within a short while, the notice was very short and you took up the challenge. Thank you very, very much. So to the scholars, I hope what you have gained here, you put into practice. And we want to also use this opportunity to pray for you, that we know that this time that what you're going through now is a rush rush program in your academics. Some of you may soon be sitting for exam because of the strike and trying to combine several student groups together. So we pray that God will be with you as you prepare and that you come out in flying colors. Remember that another session, another scholarship session is coming up. You should make sure you submit your documents on time so that you can have your scholarship renewed by God's grace. We also pray for our donors that God will continue to replenish and prosper them. So thank you everyone for coming, and do have a nice evening. Thank God that we've been able to do this within the allotted time of 1.5 hours. Okay, so bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.